So I saw on the news the other day a quote that said 25% of the price of inflation is going to excess profit for companies. 25% kind of was implied that it's price gouging or it's companies getting more money for their profits, which may or may not be the case. But let's really take a look at the question, which a lot of people ask. Where does the money from inflation go? Who gets the money? When you pay more for gas or groceries or anything, who gets to keep that money? Who is the recipient? Who's the beneficiary of that money? You're not. You're losing it, right? So let's take a look here at an example of some product that had inflation. We're going to look at this green bar on the left-hand side. We're going to call this a $100 product in 2019. Maybe it was, I don't know, pair of shoes, pair of dress shoes. Maybe it was a full tank of gas. Maybe it was a certain grocery, shopping cart full of groceries. Maybe it was some electronic device that you bought, $100. In 2024, that item cost $120. That is referenced by this blue bar that goes up and down here on the left-hand side. So this extra $20, which is this section right here, who got that $20? Who gets to keep that $20? Who's making it now that wasn't making it back in 2019? Well, we're going to take a look at a typical company and where does the money go? When the company in 2019 sold this $100 item, that money went to a few different places. There's costs and profit and loss statements and balance sheets in a company. Usually some percentage goes to rent. That's this light green bar on the right-hand side. Some percentage goes to payroll. You have employees, you have payroll taxes, you have insurance, you have all the things that go along with payroll. You may have a cost of goods. If you're manufacturing a product, you make pens, you have to buy the plastic, the ink, all the different parts of the pen. That's your cost of good. You have other expenses like tech. You have programs, computers, apps, different things, your website. These are just 4 examples of the expenses that go into a business. There's also legal. There may be fuel for vehicles. There's usually 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 different line items on your profit and loss statement that goes into a business. After all that is paid, the business has a profit. They have money left over at the end of the month. That's what a business is traditionally measured by, is what is their profit. A typical business might make 18% profit. Some businesses are a little less. Restaurants are a lot less. There may be 10% profit. Grocery stores might be single-digit profit, 3 or 4%. Some businesses are higher percentage. If it's a service business, you might be 25 or 30%. But let's just take 18% as an example for a business. So at the end of the day, you sold that thing for $100. You got to keep $18. If you're a shop owner, you're a store owner, and you sell, I don't know, you sell radios, right? Maybe you bought this radio for $50. That's your cost of goods. You paid your payroll, your rent. You made $18. Great, good for you. Now, fast forward to 2024. That radio now sells for $120. Who gets the extra $20? Well, your rent may be higher. That's going to be an increase. Your payroll is definitely higher. Wages have gone up. Payroll taxes have gone up. Work comp insurance has gone up. A lot of the other factors have gone up. Your cost of goods definitely went up. If you buy finished products like the radio, whatever you pay your distributor went up. If you manufacture products, your materials and your component parts went up. The cost of your tech definitely went up. Your apps, all of your items went up. Overall, all of your expenses probably went up. This is $20 more. That's a 20% increase. All of your items went up probably 20%. Some things may not have gone up 20%. Some things may have gone up 30%. Overall, all of your expenses probably went up 20%. So now you sell it for $120 and you keep 18%, the same percentage as over here, but now you make $22 because 18% of $100 is $18. 18% of $120 is $22. So you made $4 extra on the radio. That's your additional profit because your expenses went up, your profit percentage stayed the same, but your profit dollars went up, right? So let's take a look at that. If you take $22 here minus $18, that's $4 more profit. Divide the $4 by the 18, well, guess what? That is your 22% of the extra profit that they're saying 25% went to the inflation. Are there companies that do price gouging? Certainly. Are there companies that have used inflation as an excuse to jack up prices? Certainly. But overall, most of the inflation in the price of an item was because of the component parts of that business. The payroll, the rent, insurance has gone through the roof. Again, this is not justifying what companies do individually, but just showing overall where the extra money goes. The short answer is it doesn't all go to one place. Everybody gets a share of that inflation. The landlord that rents the building, the insurance company that sells insurance to that company, the tech companies that do programming, payroll. Most of the employees probably have higher wages. Minimum wage went up. If you hire services, janitorial service, that went up, right? Again, it's not Cry Me a River, violin for the business owner. It's showing that the money doesn't all go to one place. Did the business owner make more profit? Maybe. Some businesses probably did make some more profit. But there's a lot of businesses that have closed because of the inflation. So it's a balancing act. The ones that are more nimble, the more able to serve their customers better. The companies that are able to pivot their company to deal with the inflation. Maybe if they know that people don't have as much money because of inflation, they come up with a better product. They come up with better deals. Maybe they come up with a better value. Maybe the radio costs $120 more, but they find more features to put in the radio, or radios that maybe more companies want or more consumers want. The companies that don't pivot, that aren't smart enough to figure out how do I do business in this inflationary environment, they close. They go out of business, right? Now, this doesn't answer the question is where did the money come from? Where did the inflation money come from? Why was there inflation? Well, a lot of it, according to some experts, has to do with the fact that the federal government, the Federal Reserve, flooded the economy with money. Low interest rates, stimulus checks, a lot of extra money. Is that true or not? Again, that's beyond the scope of this analysis, but the money had to come from somewhere. Right? That extra $20 didn't grow on trees, or maybe it did. Maybe it grew on the Federal Reserve tree. Either way, this is to show that the money was evenly distributed. At the end of the day, once it's all filtered out, maybe it all ended up in the hands of BlackRock or some hedge fund. Who knows? But during the course of that, any one of these companies could have decided to retain the money. If the tech company had a little bit of a windfall because they could raise their prices, right? They could have decided to keep some of that money. Instead, they spent it on something. Payroll. If your payroll went up, well, your expenses probably went up too, right? So the money may have all ended up in the hands of one overlord. It probably didn't all end up in the hands of the company that you paid the money to. If you paid it to an insurance company, if you paid it to an insurance agency, to a local business, a restaurant, a car dealership, they probably didn't end up with all of the extra money from the inflation. Maybe some of it. It may all have ended up in one place, or a lot of it did, but that place isn't the person you gave the money to. It may have been a large hedge fund or, some scheming finance company. The merchant, the company you gave the money to, is probably not the villain in this story, right? They're not the one who is windfalling from your inflation. Keep that in mind. I know you have an opinion about this. Let us know in the comments below what you think about where the inflation money went, why it happened, and what possibly is the solution to keep us from being wrung dry from wherever the source of this extracted inflationary price increase is coming from.